Here, Full Tower listeners, I'm Oliver.
I'm James.
And I'm Lily.
Lily?
Who's Lily?
Co-host. We have Lily Heise in the studio. Co-host, you might know her from Je t'aime me neither. And she's here helping out with an episode.
Yes, well, I'm very excited to be co-hosting today with Oliver.
And James.
And James, who's across from me here. And I think it's going to be a very exciting and titillating episode.
Titillating is the right word. And we're about to get into a warning about who should be turning off. But first, let's hear the jingle.
Full Tower with Oliver G.
There's the jingle. Okay, I said it. I'm just going to clarify. This episode is different. It is unsuitable. Play the warning bells, James. There's going to be language. There's going to be worse than that, Lily. There's going to be turn off your podcast right now if you get offended by gratuitous swearing or body parts, because we're going to be talking about your embarrassing mistakes that you've made while trying to speak French. And there's been a few of them sent in, huh?
Oh, no, absolutely. As you know, French is considered the language of love, but it can also be the language of romantic mishaps.
Romantic mishaps, indeed. And you'd know a thing or two about these with your sort of, how would we describe your books? Seductress Love, Sex and the City Meets Paris. Am I on the right track? That
is definitely along the right track. However, the train often goes off the tracks.
What is it? Is that a bad thing or a good thing?
Well, it all depends. It makes for good laughs, but it doesn't always make for happy endings.
Oh, okay. We started early. I'm glad I told everybody to switch off. How are you doing, James?
I'm quiet. Good. How are you doing, Ollie?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, we've got an audience too with us today.
Worth mentioning. Yes. Yeah, we've got some regular listeners are in just because what did they say? They couldn't stay away from the idea of hearing some embarrassing stories.
That's right, yeah.
Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, there you go. So, what we've done is we've gathered these embarrassing stories, but first, a little story about today, something James and I did in your area, Lily. Where are you living again? You're in the sort of northern Paris area?
Well, I am. I'm in Montmartre, which is actually at the edge of Pigalle, which is one of Paris's red light districts.
Oh la 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 la. We weren't in the red light district, but we had a beer before the episode in a bar that's going to come up in a future episode from A Secret of Paris, a Quentin Tarantino connected bar. Do you know which one it might be, Lily?
You have me stumped.
You'll have to tune in for a future episode. Although it was pretty good. It was pretty interesting.
Although we have to say we had that beer outside because the weather's good now.
The weather's good.
Sun arrives in Paris.
Yeah, beautiful. Anyway, these guys have come for embarrassing mistakes. We're going to read them out to you and explain them if they need to be explained. Would you like to start, Lily, or shall I?
Well, I can give one, so we're actually diving into the deep end here.
Okay, Grandma, if you're listening, turn off because we're going into the deep end. I'm serious. We'll give them a minute. Okay, they've gone. Let's do it.
Right.
They might never turn the radio back up.
So they don't want to for this episode.
Well, we have actually several examples of two French words that can mean something drastically different, and in fact can actually lead to some quite embarrassing mishaps, especially if you're with French people and the serious types.
So this one's, she runs We in France, the website. I think she's contributed to some episodes before. Let's hear what she has to say.
Well, poor Diane, she has a husband called Tom who's married, who's French.
Oh, don't tell me there are parents-in-law involved.
Oh, there are, which makes it all the more horrific for poor Diane.
I've covered my face.
So there are actually two words that are very similar, and one is jouer.
To play.
Which means to play.
Yep.
And then the very similar word, which is jouir.
What does that mean, Lily?
So as you can imagine, that isn't necessarily conversation you would want to be having with your parents-in-law.
Oh, I can see where it's going already.
So poor Diane was having a lighthearted conversation with her parents-in-law about playing games. Not the kind you do in the bedroom.
Oh, dear.
And she goes and says in French to the lines of, Tom always likes to play in his head.
Oh, so she said jouir instead of jouer.
Yes, she did.
She said to her parents-in-law, Tom always likes to orgasm in his head. Oh, Diane.
Which might make them think that he has quite a dirty mind.
Oh, how did it go? Did she say how it went? No?
Well, it didn't go all that well. Poor Diane didn't realize right away until probably she saw these horrified looks on her papa and mama-in-laws.
Oh, gosh. Okay, that was a good one, Diane. Is that in the Hall of Shame? We're putting that one in the Hall of Shame? 1, 2,
I
5.
vote.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Diane. That was a good one. And check out her Facebook page and blog, Oui, that's OUI, Oui in France. Okay, I think it's my turn.
Let's hear it.
Okay, this one comes in from, and I'm retelling it. He emailed it into the Eiffel Tower on Facebook, but I'm going to retell it in my own words. I hope Sam is okay with it. His name is Sam. So let me paint the picture. He's quite new to France, and he's with a girl. So this is another sex-related one. He's with a girl. He's having a great time. So good that he gets to a second date. And second,
Promising.
more than a date. He goes to the bedroom with her together. Not only do they go to the bedroom, but they make passionate love.
Sounds so good so far.
She leans over to him and she whispers in his ear a phrase that everybody knows, especially you, Lily. She whispers, "Je t'aime." Oh, she loves him. And he thinks, whoa, French girls are quick. But I've heard before about French girls being quite romantic. So what does he respond? He thinks for a second and leans back to her and says, perhaps between a puff of smoke, he says, "Je t'aime aussi," which means I love you too. It's the name of Lily's book, Je t'aime me neither, Je t'aime, I love you. She sits up in bed, bolt upright, panicked. She says, "What did you just say to me?" "What did you just say to me, Sam?" He says, "I said, je t'aime aussi." And she goes, "Oh, no. She said to him, I said, "Je t'aime," which means, shall I turn off the light? So, I guess, je t'aime aussi. What could he possibly do to get out of that one?
That's going straight to the Hall of Shame.
Straight to the Hall of Shame. Yeah. Thanks for sending that one in, Sam. And
But I have a question.
Go on.
Was there a third date? Or was
I
that it?
don't know. What do you think? We can only speculate.
Yeah, because I suppose if someone explained that to me, I would be more understanding. I'd be like, "Oh, sweet little foreigner, pat them on the head."
But maybe she thought that he loved him. She thought he loves me and panicked.
That's pretty quick to
Yeah,
shoot out those words, even for a French person.
Yeah, right.
Usually it's the third or fourth date.
Okay, well, there's the advice from Lily Heise. I think it's time for number 3.
Let's go on.
I look at James, but you don't have any of them, James, so I'm looking back to Lily. Although, before we get on to number 3, let's talk about who you are, Lily.
Oh, sure.
Who are you, co-host Lily?
Yeah, well, I actually wear a number of hats. I have
and earphones tonight,
and exactly, that's why tonight I've switched.
We like a good pun in this show.
I'm a writer based here in Paris. I'm from a very small town in Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
And
hang on, you're our first Canadian guest.
Oh, well, I take that as a huge honor, and I expect to be hearing many more Canadians on your show.
We'll work on it. So so the second hat is like one of the Mounties hats. Is that?
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
It's troopers, the state troopers.
I'm wearing red tonight.
Yeah?
That would be perfect. Just give me a horse and off I go riding.
Okay, and you're a rider?
Yes, I'm a writer, not a rider.
A horse rider.
Yeah. So I'm a writer here in Paris, and I've written 2 books on funny stories about the search for romance here in Paris, because a lot of people think of Paris as a city of love, where
Hang on, it's not.
Well, you're just going to have to read my books to find out.
You know what? I'll be fully honest here. I do have one of your books, and I've told you that I'm to read it on my holiday. It's a busy period. Elections are going on. I don't know what's going on, but I'm excited to read it.
Well, I do hope you like it, and since you have a sense of humor, I think you will.
Yet to be proven, the sense of humor. But
well, we've had a few good jokes tonight.
So far, so good?
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about another hat that you wear in a moment.
Okay.
Which is where I met you, actually, and won a quiz, if we're going to be honest about it. But first, let's get on to another word, I think.
Well, so some words, it's not a matter about mistaking the word with another word, but it can also be a case of using a word in an incorrect situation. And so we actually have an example from Preston.
Preston, who's a regular listener, I've heard. Never met him.
Well, Preston, we hope you are listening today.
Yeah, I hope so too, Preston.
And you can hear about your horrible situation that was happening. So poor Preston was coming over to Paris. So, you know, Air France, it's a very chic company. The stewardesses are quite elegant with little tiny mini skirts and that cute little hat.
Beautiful even.
Often quite attractive.
Not that matters. I mean, hey, look.
No, but if you're running to catch your flight because you think you're about to miss your flight and you've worked up a sweat and you show up and
Preston.
Poor Preston, he shows up, you know, brushing off his brow in front of this attractive flight attendant.
Oh, Preston, you red-blooded male. What's he done?
So he says, "Je suis chaud."
Oh, James, you're going to have to explain that for the listeners that don't know.
He would have wanted to say "j'ai chaud."
J'ai chaud, which means
I'm warm. I'm very hot.
Oh, but what did he say instead?
So je suis chaud, slightly excited.
Oh my God, Preston. How did it go? Did he tell us any more?
Well, I think the poor flight attendant did understand that he was just being a silly American
just
boy.
Just a silly foreigner.
Yeah, and didn't and
she didn't
take
think he
him
was doing it on
seriously.
purpose, did she?
Wow.
It would be a weird thing to say on purpose, wouldn't it?
Well, maybe he was a member of the Mile High Club, isn't it?
Is that what they're
called?
calling it these days? We have the metric system in France. I think it's the
Kilometer?
something like 1.6. I don't know.
Well,
you know about that?
Audience
that
is
whole
Didn't get
intervening.
an upgrade, I take it then.
Dingo Mike in the audience. You know what? I've got a question about this. Maybe we can throw to James. How good is your French, Lily?
it's fairly good.
Okay, I can throw it to either of you then. But I play a lot of basketball. That's come up in the show before. And when the guys, when they're on fire, they're hitting all the shots, you can yell out to them, "Ah oui, tu es chaud." So how did Preston, how did the air hostess not think he was just on fire?
Actually, it's the same. No, it sounds exactly. No, it's the same thing, but in different contexts. It's fine. You can say, "So he's on fire." Ouais, il est chaud ce soir. But that could also be interpreted in the
And what about? Can you say like when you're really keen on something, like someone gives a good plan, you can go, "Ah oui, oui, j'ai chaud."
Je suis chaud pour ça.
But that this one doesn't work really. I'm horny for that. You can say that. Do you want to go to the club tonight? I'm horny for that. So what's the tip? Avoid both.
If you want to, avoid it. That way you won't find yourself in a difficult situation.
I'm going to have a quick mention of some honourable mentions that were sent in. A quick mention of some honourable mentions. Because when I put this shout out on the Full Towers Facebook, we got a lot of people. In fact, one guy, Stevie, called me immediately with he called me with, oh, did you hear that? That was weird. Was that just the Eurostar going past again?
That was, yeah. It must have been, we can time it now. We must have been here for about 10 minutes. Hey?
Nah, leave it open. It's a bit.
No, it's cool. Yeah, it's part of the. This is what we're here.
So we got some. They weren't sexy, so I didn't use them today. But I'll give a little bit of a shout out. One that I liked. I'll tell them quickly. One guy said, Stevie. He said he couldn't speak very good French when he first got here. He needed to get some butter. Went down to the shop and he said, he just said, I need some bière. And the woman didn't understand him. She was going, what do you mean, like beer? She's thinking beer. So he told me on the phone that he started doing the action for butter, which on the phone, I don't know what he meant, but I guess curdling some butter in his...
That's not an easy one to guess.
No,
I mean, I think more
so
of like
been in there going, give me some
spices.
beer, give me some beer. And she's going, oh, we don't have any beer. So she took him across the road to a bar. And she goes, this guy wants some beer, I think. He's like, yeah, I want some beer. And the guy goes, what do you mean? Like, why are you going to the shop? And he says in English, I meant butter. And they go, oh, beurre, not bière. And he goes, yeah, that's what I said, bière.
Aww.
And they took him back to get some. Yeah, sad
She was
story.
willing to help him out anyway.
That was pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, she went the extra mile.
Another one that I got was from Mike, who said it wasn't sexually embarrassing or anything like that, but he said that he was trying to impress the woman who had become his wife on the first time they met, and he didn't speak much French at all. All he knew is je voudrais, because it sounds like Dr. Dre, right? And he knew how to say please, which in his head was je m'appelle, which is anyone who speaks French knows is actually my name is.
But he must have left people like on little cliffhangers at the end of everything.
Yeah, right. And that's exactly what happened. This is my version of the story. It might be wrong. He's not here to defend himself. The waitress comes over. He's trying to impress this future wife of his, and she says, what do you want? And he says, Dr. Dre, une burger, je m'appelle. And then leans back, crosses his arm, and she goes, tu t'appelles quoi? And walks off. And I don't know if he got the burger, we'll never find out. And one more fun one that I got was, I'll just get it up on the phone here. I haven't even got it up. Hang on 2 seconds.
Well, I've got one that actually still happens to me to this day, and it happened to me last week.
You haven't learned enough from it.
No, well, it's not embarrassing, but when I speak French, I have a British accent, which, as you can hear me speaking,
Hang on,
English
Lily, you
right
have
now.
to do it. You have to speak French now, so we can hear it.
Then I'll give you the example.
Oh, here we go.
And so the French don't even ask me; they automatically say, "Oh, mais vous êtes anglaise?" And I go, "No, mais non, je suis Canadienne." And then they go into the story about how I don't sound Canadian because they think Canadians sound like French Canadians, etc. But I am a wine fan. I do like wine.
Can we just announce that we have some wine
Yes.
that Lily brought into the studio? Thanks for that. Do the sound of it.
And notice the wine I brought. One is a Côte du Rhône, and you'd think you understood what I said.
I knew what you
Côte
said.
du Rhône, but for some reason in bars, almost every waiter that I say like un verre de Côte du Rhône or just un Côte du Rhône, they say quoi, what, like what do you want? And last week, instead of a glass of Côte du Rhône, which is a red wine, I received a glass of Cabernet Sauvignon, which is wine.
They're just messing with you because your accent's not perfect. You think? I think it sounded... What do you think? Okay, James.
Maybe as you should keep ordering them and see the closer you get, the more red wine you get, then you'll know you'll be improving.
Hey, you know what? That reminds me of something that I always get wrong that maybe you guys can help me with. It happens so frequently. If I go up to a bar and I want to say that, or a coffee and I want two of something, they often just give me one. And I have a theory, but I'll say it for you and you see if you can figure it out.
Wait. What are you asking them for?
So let's say I want 2 pints of blonde, okay? So I say, oui, bonjour, je vais prendre 2 pintes de blonde, right?
Uh-huh.
And they give me one. And I think, my theory is that, did it sound alright? I don't know.
Sounds fine, yeah.
I think when I say je vais prendre 2,
Oh, do you swallow the deux?
yeah. So they think, I say je vais prendre le pain de rond, pain de whatever, blonde, and they give me one.
You could do it. You can just go, je vais prendre deux. And
Je
that way
vais
you don't
prendre
finish
deux.
the tr. And as long as you go deux.
Je vais prendre 2 pains.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then-
Because I get one, and I'm like, oh, and another one. You know?
Well, maybe they think you're trying to eye up the blonde waitress that's behind the bar.
I'm
and
never
so-
eyeing up any. If my girlfriend's listening, I'm never eyeing up any waitresses,
Oops.
male or female. Lily,
Sorry.
Dirty
mind.
You know what? When I had this idea to do this episode, I was going to begin it with a story about one that is banned because I don't believe it's ever happened to anyone. And I know James is going to react to this, but I remember when I
So it's
first...
fake news.
Fake news. He already knows what I'm going to say. I remember when I first learned French, age 10, the teacher told a story that I just didn't believe that involves... You need to know that the word for condom in French is préservatif, right?
Yeah, préservatif.
And my theory was whoever uses the word preservative, like my teacher 20 years ago said, she told a story, oh, this jam's delicious, there's no preservatives in it, there's no condoms in it. I didn't believe it, fake news. But, lo and behold, we got an email on the Eiffel Tower's Facebook from Tish Develing, and I'm going to read it to you, and just so you know, I confronted her and said I didn't believe it, and she continued. She says, I'm an English-speaking South African, and I love your show. I added that bit in. She didn't say. I'm an English-speaking South African, and my most embarrassing mistake was while I was waiting outside the school door with a whole bunch of moms with an O, because she's I don't know. Do they say mom in South Africa?
Apparently.
Okay, we say mum in other countries. And we got talking. I got talking to one of them about this new fruit juice that I'd come across. I was rattling on in my version of French language how it tasted really good. It was organic, without artificial colorants, and condom free. No colorants and preservative. It should be sans colorant ni conservateur. The mum didn't correct me at the time, but I wondered why she was smiling. First, James, do you believe it happened?
So they actually have it. Well, she set the scene now, so
You
I'll
believe it?
that one.
I wrote back, I didn't believe that ever actually happened. Is this not just an urban myth? Did it really happen? She said, oh yes, it most certainly did. It was many years ago. I was new to France. And she went back and blah, blah, blah. It actually happened.
I never said...
I can believe it.
Really?
Yeah.
I believe it from Tish, and it's great that she emailed us. But when I first heard it, it just sounded like fake news. Okay, I think, gosh, we are really getting through the time. I'm gonna do another one that was sent in that's quite a good one, and this has foul language. It's from a guy called Lee, and he says, I'll read it to you. So this one comes in from Lee, and he says, what you need to know about this story is the word for a kiss is la baiser, which is also very similar to the word for to fornicate with someone else. F-U-C-K. You get it. So he says, at an early stage of his time in France, he was invited to a soiree with mainly elderly people. Picture the scene. Young Lee walking into this soiree. He says most of his French was gleaned from the dictionary, and his etiquette comes from Australia, so there's a mix if you ever heard one. He politely asked the 70-year-old hostess who greeted him at the entrance to the hall, shall I say it in French or English?
Yeah, go for it.
He says, est-ce qu'il faut baiser tout le monde? Or must I make love with everybody?
Straight up with the jeton.
Straight into the hall of shame.
Straight to the hall of shame.
Must I F everybody in this room? Imagine the old people there watching. Guess what? We got a review. I've got good news. Got good news for everyone. I've been asking listeners to put reviews on iTunes because when we get enough reviews on our podcast, The Eiffel Tower, we get a rating, an average rating. And guess what? We've got an average rating thanks to this last review that I'm going to read out to you guys. There's nothing embarrassing about it. Thanks for the cheer, Mike, in the corner. I'm pretty happy with it. 5 stars, which is incidentally our average now, out of 5.
Excellent.
This is from Luke. I'm reading this verbatim. Best jingle I've ever heard.
Oh, okay. Straight up.
That's the title of it. He says, worth listening.
Is this a sponsored comment?
Not at all. It's
by Slim and the Beast.
No, who wrote our jingle, and we appreciate it. But he says, it gets better. Worth listening to just to hear the jingle twice. Other than... I
like that.
Other than the world's best jingle, it has laughs, facts, and tips that will leave anyone who's spent any time in France nodding with knowing approval, which is exactly what Lily's doing here.
That was even before you got to that part.
And then he said brilliant.
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks, Luke.
I really appreciate that one.
If you're listening and you think, I can do better than Luke and leave a funnier review to get read out, we will read it out. We got nothing else to
Straight to the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame instead of the Hall of Shame. So we've been talking for enough that if we're going to do any more stories, they have to be super quick. Do we have more? Quick fire round instead.
Go a quick fire round.
I think we're going to do a quick fire round. You ready? Lily, we're putting you on the spot. As with every week, I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You have less than 5 seconds to answer all of them.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Most romantic place to take someone on a date in Paris?
You're going to take them around Montmartre, and you're going to be walking down the whole back streets and the sides. Lots of places to kiss.
Ooh, okay. Specifically, best place to kiss in Montmartre?
Allée des Bouillards.
Which one? What's that? Oh, that's the curvy one up the cobblestone.
No, that's near the curvy one. It's right behind the Dalida statue. And it's very dark at night.
Hidden away. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to stick with the romance theme. Most romantic restaurant for a hidden meal with a lover.
Oh, a hidden meal.
You look really disappointed.
Hidden meal?
Well, you don't want to see it. Wait, with your mistress. You don't want your wife to or your husband to see it.
There's absolutely the place to go, and it is called La Perouse, and it is right on the Seine on Quai des Grands Augustins, and it is where the politicians and the fancy aristocrats used to take their wives. And it's a very old restaurant. It's around 200 or more years old, and they have private dining rooms.
Sounds expensive, Lily.
It's a little expensive, but you didn't give me a price tag.
No, but it's out of my range by the sounds of it. But not that I want to go off with a mistress anyway.
Well, hey.
2 more questions. This isn't romance. Where's the best place to have a coffee in Paris?
The best place to have a coffee.
You're stalling, Lily. You're stalling.
Quick fire round.
I am a tea drinker.
Oh my goodness me! Where's the best coffee? Where's the best cafe to get a tea?
The best cafe to get a tea is at Mariage Frère.
What's it called?
Mariage Frère.
Where's that?
It's a fancy tea salon, and it's a tea brand, and you can purchase their teas in various places, and they have several venues, and their tea is actually really quite good.
Okay, and last question: best bookshop in the city, hands down.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to say the Abbey Bookshop, which is the Canadian bookshop in Paris, where you can also find my book, but it is a wonderful bookshop. You can get free Canadian coffee there.
But you wouldn't be drinking it anyway.
No.
All right, that was a quick fire round. You did really well. Our time is up, so thanks for coming in, Lily, and for co-hosting with us. And Sorry to all the listeners who were offended by the graphic language. We had worse that
no
we
one's
knew.
been listening. They kept it turned down.
Keep listening. Tune in for more of the same. Thanks for joining us, Lily.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks to the crowd. And thanks to James.
Cheers. Lily.
See you next week.
Eiffel Tower with Oliver G.